Do you have a favorite vocal chain when you're mixing?
No, it's mostly through the SSL on the strip. Sometimes I'll have uh, a side compressor that I run the vocal through, like 1176, with this different EQ on it. And I find you add a little bit of that again, like the guitar idea, it helps the vocal to just poke out a little bit more without having to crank the volume up and have the vocal like, okay, now where's my kick and snare gone? The vocal obliterating it. So I'll do a little bit of side compression on that sometimes.
Hmm.
And then it's for me with the vocal, like in some instances, I like super dry vocals right in your face, but they do need to be glued to the track somehow. So I like playing around with. I prefer delays on a vocal as opposed to reverb. Reverb just makes it sound dated to me right away, and maybe for me going through the 80s and just now totally hating all the reverb we throw on stuff in the 80s, maybe I shy away from it, but I prefer tighter delays and creating a space for the vocal, maybe even some short plate things so that you don't hear this reverb, but it creates a room around the vocal. I like experimenting with stuff like that, and that helps. Sort of, if you've got the vocal loud up in the mix, if you add a little bit of that stuff, it helps glue it back into the mix, and it creates a space, an interesting space for it.
And do you ever use distortion on vocals?
Sometimes I do, yes. I've got a couple of rat pedals, which I really like. I use them a lot on the bass, but I mean, they work a lot on a lot of things. So sometimes I'll use that on a vocal. Sometimes I'll go through, and I don't use a lot of plugins, but sometimes I'll go through the plug-in bank and see what's interesting on there for distortion and whatnot. So I find a funny thing with distortion on a vocal, though, sometimes is it can either create like a sharp S, like an S that you want to de-S the vocal, or it makes the singer sound like he has a lisp. For some reason, just the way it plays with that upper mid frequency. So you got to be careful with the distortion on the vocal for sure.
To watch the full video, click the link below and don't forget to subscribe.